Hey Andrew, how's it going? Good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
So Andrew is obviously the CEO of the Koinos Group. I am running a little site called gFam, and we like to hang out and just talk about the blockchain things. How's it going?
It's going good.
Awesome. So I'm sure you've noticed this week, Cardano and Polkadot have exploded up the market cap lately. I think they've actually changed their positions. They've come in at I think they're sitting at 5 and 6 at the moment. But when I look at these projects, I think of Koinos quite a lot. I think there's a lot of similarities. Do you agree or disagree that there are similarities?
Yeah, absolutely. There are similarities because they're all general purpose blockchains. They're all about enabling decentralized application developers to create smart contracts. What's interesting about where we diverge is that they really come from what I call the Ethereum lineage of blockchains. And so where we really diverge is in the evolution of our architectures. And, so the creators of Cardano and Polkadot were founders of Ethereum. And so when you look at Cardano and Polkadot, they're very much those guys' visions for Ethereum. Whereas we came from this graphene lineage of blockchains that was more about experimentation, speed, forgoing the use of a virtual machine, adopting more experimental consensus algorithms like proof of stake. And now we've circled back around and come to the conclusion that the solution to the problems that we faced building these high performance blockchains, the solution that we were looking for is the virtual machine, adopting many of the technological innovations that have come out of that lineage, including technological innovations that have come from outside the space entirely, like WASM, and putting all of this stuff together to create a general purpose blockchain, importantly, that is feeless. And so that's really the distinction, is this different architecture, specifically organized around the objective of enabling free to use applications, while at a high level, effectively delivering the same feature set of its smart contracts. But that's actually a feature, not a bug. We know now what developers are looking for from a blockchain. It's the ability to code up smart contracts. So we are all going after that target demographic. So Koinos has to look and act like those platforms in order to deliver the value that developers are looking for from them. But it goes about it in a very different way, using a very different architecture that is more scalable, more upgradable, and most importantly, entirely feeless in nature.
Yeah, I've really been struggling with the gas prices on Ethereum. So I like to dabble on Uniswap. There's lots of different little things that I'm doing. I was looking at Gala Games, which is basically trying to create games like RPGs and stuff on blockchains, and you can't do anything at the moment with Ethereum gas prices. There's so many transactions I've backed out of just because I just don't want to pay all those fees. Especially, there was one yesterday where the fee was actually going to be more expensive than the actual transaction I wanted to make. So fees are a big deal. It makes it really hard. So yeah, I think that's a really good, obviously, a big thing to go after. Does Cardano and Polkadot, do they have fees? I actually don't know that much about them.
I know that Polkadot has fees.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that I assume that Cardano has fees. I think it's certainly not the value proposition they're promoting. So I I would be stunned and shocked. The problem is there's so many projects to keep track of. And then some start blowing up, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I don't know as much about this project as I'd like to know.
Yeah.
And honestly, we really don't think that much about other projects. I think that if we did focus as much of our attention on other projects as many projects do, that's what makes you develop solutions like those projects.
Right. Yeah.
So we're focused on building the best platform for developers. And then through that process, we're looking at other projects, looking at the solutions that they have, assessing whether there's anything useful to us or anything interesting that they're doing, but there's just too much to keep track of. And I think that this ties into a really important point that I'd like to make about Polkadot and Cardano, and how I think Koinos differs from them, aside from the feeless nature, which is obviously huge.
Yeah, totally.
Which is how complicated they are and how difficult they are to understand. And it really drives me kind of up a wall when people ignore, when people pretend that complexity and difficulty in understanding a solution isn't a major barrier to entry for both end user adoption, but more importantly, developer adoption. Developers are not going to adopt solutions that they can't understand.
Yeah, totally. I think the thing that people forget about developers is that when you're developing something, you're like putting in a huge investment, either with time or effort. Like if I develop on the wrong platform, it's really hard. I'm then tied to that platform. So I'm finding that problem with XRP at the moment. Like gFam works on the XRP ledger, which is great. Like it works really well. But obviously the SEC case with Ripple has rippling effects down to me. So yeah, I imagine with Koinos, like it might be easy for people to jump on, but also jump off if there's no fees.
That's absolutely the goal. That's a super important value for us, is that it should be zero friction to jump on and zero friction to jump off. And to give you kind of an example of how this would work, right? One of the things we talk about a lot is multi-language support. And multi-language support is actually the biggest thing that we can do for a wide array of solutions. In fact, I like to joke that it's really depressing that the single most impactful feature that Koinos will probably have is TypeScript support. Just it's like we're doing all this cool stuff. And really the fact that smart contract developers will be able to write up their smart contract in TypeScript, compile them to WASM, run them on Koinos, and the fact that DevOps people and anyone else dealing with node infrastructure will be able to do the same thing with their microservices, whether it's TypeScript or whether it's another language like Go that might be more appropriate for things like networking related microservices. These are going to be just that support is going to be the thing that makes the biggest difference in developers' lives, which ultimately trickles down into the lives of their users. But the point being that you're a developer, you're building an application, you're using JavaScript for an increasing array of things now.
Yeah.
JavaScript's even more now than just front end. It's back end too. And so with Koinos, where we want to get to, and we'll actually get there, I think, way faster than people probably think if you gauge it by how other projects are handling multi-language support, where you have EOS, for example, that still really only has support for C++.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know anyone that programs in C++. I know heaps of people that program in JavaScript.
Yeah. Aside from the people I work with.
Right.
That's. So as the application developer, the way to reduce your friction and to reduce your costs is to say, hey, you're building your entire application in JavaScript. This smart contract, your smart contract on Koinos will be quite small, as we've discussed before.
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually not a lot of code. What makes developing that smart contract difficult is if it's in C++ and you're not a C++ developer, if it's in Solidity and you don't know Solidity. And then you've got libraries that you're dealing with as part of your application. And so, and maintaining those libraries, making sure those libraries are up to date and growing in number and utility, this is where things get difficult. And so this is where solutions like Koinos types come into play, where what we want to say to the developer is, your stack's in JavaScript, your smart contracts will be in JavaScript, your libraries will be in JavaScript. If you want to take your stack and move it someplace else, as long as that place also has TypeScript support,
yeah,
you'll have that mobility. But if they don't, which none of the other blockchains do, that's not our fault. That's their fault for not thinking as deeply about usability, portability, scalability, accessibility, and the importance that multi-language support plays in that. I mean, a lot of this has to do with where we are in the evolution of various technologies, really WASM becoming this established standard that enables near native execution speeds in virtual machines. And then it's this compilation target for all these other programming languages. WASM is coming to maturity at just the right time. It and other technologies are paying more attention to blockchain use cases for them.
Yeah.
And blockchain engineers like us are understanding the role that those technologies will play. And so Koinos types, while a highly technical solution, is really this perfect window into understanding how all of this stuff comes together, because basically WASM enables infinite multi-language support. But in order to benefit from that in a blockchain context, you need a translation layer that basically converts all of the blockchain specific data types into, not into WASM, I'm kind of mixing stuff up here, but the point is that all of these programming languages that WASM enables support for need to be educated on blockchain database structures in order for it to give the utility that we're looking for. And that solution did not exist, which is why we had to build Koinos types. And so now maybe when other blockchains come to market that are built on microservice architectures that are looking to offer multi-language support for smart contract, they will be able to take Koinos types and use it. And but we didn't have that option, so we had to develop it ourselves. And of course, what we're going to say to those projects is, hey, instead of trying to build your own, why don't you just build your project on top of Koinos? It's got all of these other great tool sets, all of these great users, all these great developers. You gain access to this all in one. What benefit are you getting from launching your own custom blockchain? You're not going to do that better than we do it. Maybe you will. Good luck.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah.